today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Yesterday in Germany, the prediction stuck, and Nina Meinke was able to retain the blue belt, retain the IBF title in what was the rematch with former three-weight champion Daniela Bermudez of Argentina.
In similar fashion to how she won the first fight, moving and jabbing and boxing and countering, where Nina is more the boxer, Daniela is more the puncher, with the caveat being that she's not as big a puncher at featherweight as she is at the lower weights where she moved up from. Whereas Nina, the naturally bigger woman, she's campaigned as high as 135 pounds and over the years eventually moved down to featherweight, explaining why she can take Daniela Bermudez's power. Her persistence. Because she's still just as tenacious as she ever was at the lower weights, but she doesn't land with the same authority as a featherweight. Now, leaving the door open for a Nina Meinke to work around her volume, her aggression. That's what she's done in her last two starts. Daniela Bermudez was the highest ranked contender in the IBF's ranked standings. Now, I don't know if it was them that put together this rematch. Did they do it because the IBF ordered them to do it? Not sure. Ranked right behind Daniela Bermudez at number 1 is Elizabeth Oshoba of Nigeria at number 2. She is the next highest ranked contender and likely will be ranked at number 1 in the next set of updated ranked standings. But at least momentarily, Nina Meinke is free to go in whatever direction she wants to go in, and that could be a unification match with Tiara Brown. Yeah, she could, but that fight don't pay much. She could have a voluntary title defense with the former champion, Skye Nicholson, who ranks in at number 4. If Matchroom can pull some strings, they can finagle a situation where maybe Skye challenges Nina for the blue belt. There is also that to consider. That fight pays better than a Brown fight. It's not a unification match, though, all the same. The money is likely better. I think there's a strong chance we see that fight in the not-so-distant future because Skye Nicholson just suffered her first professional loss to Tiara Brown. But I'm not convinced that she's going to leave this weight class just yet and move up. Her old buddy, Alicia Baumgartner, is still undisputed champion at Super Feather. So the world title picture is all jammed up there, where Skye stands a better chance of fighting for a title in the not-so-distant future by staying put, by staying at featherweight, where she can challenge Nina Meinke for the blue belt, or maybe wait out the situation and wait for Amanda Serrano to vacate her 2 alphabet titles. Remember, Amanda Serrano still holds 2 alphabet titles at this weight, the WBA title and the WBO title, but Amanda is also very close to wrapping up her career. I don't imagine she sticks around much longer after the Katie Taylor trilogy. Win or lose. At some point this year, she may vacate those 2 alphabet titles, at which point Skye can challenge for one of them. I can't help but feel a little bit vindicated that Skye lost the Brown fight the way that she did because Tiara beat her by pressuring her, by crowding her, the same way that Amanda would, with the difference being that Tiara's nowhere near as good on the inside as Amanda. Huh? We all know that up until recently, Nicholson versus Serrano was gaining momentum as a conversation. We know that for at least 2 years now, Skye Nicholson has been calling out Amanda Serrano for a fight. And I maintain that the worst thing that could happen to Skye is actually getting that fight, because if she gets it, Amanda's gonna wear her out, wear her down, and likely stop her. That Skye does not have the answers for Amanda Serrano's pressure fighting. If she didn't have the answers for the pressure from Tiara, she definitely wouldn't have the answers for the pressure from Amanda, because she's better at it. And thus, there is more work needs doing. I've heard no news of a Nicholson versus Brown rematch. I don't know that that's something that they're exploring, but if they are, I haven't heard anything about it. There are other avenues to peruse for Skye, such as a Nina Meinke fight. Right. Nina is still IBF champion after yesterday's successful defense. Skye needs to make her an offer she can't refuse. I think that would be the fastest route to becoming a 2-time featherweight champion. Credit to Nina Meinke, but I'm convinced that Skye can beat her. She can beat Nina. She can pry the blue belt away from her. In any event, the prediction stuck. Nina won. She still got the blue belt. So, onward and upward.
Men's super featherweight news, the continued fallout of yesterday's controversy on the West Coast as Top Rank's Carl Moretti posted this video after yesterday's action between Emmanuel Navarete and Charlie Suarez.
Until the show was done. Jog it back.
We didn't have this when they were
correct.
looking, so
That is
that's
correct.
No, but we have what we're about to show you. We're about to show you what we
There's no
have.
doubt the skin's open. There's no
Not
doubt.
both.
You can see it.
Roll mode is on. This is what we did have.
What did we have during the thing? That's a punch! He hit the top of his head with his head.
Exactly, Carl.
Now, it's important to note that Carl Moretti of Top Rank basically promotes Emmanuel Navarete for anyone claiming partiality here, and some guys already have. At least one guy.
We'll get to him.
Carl Moretti himself stated, replay found after commission decision, Top Rank Boxing, deserved rematch to come.
Oh, wait a minute. So Carl's pushing for the rematch?
He is. And somebody should have told the very disgruntled Jose Perreria, who reacted to my weekend recap video by saying, "You a bunch of haters. What video evidence? Suarez was getting his ass whooped. LOL haters protecting their Amero bums, trying to avoid Vaquero.
Amero bums?
No reason to fight this bum again, Suarez." Well, you can go ahead and tell Carl Moretti that, because he's the one who promotes Vaquero, and he's the one pushing for a rematch.
And I don't know what all this stuff about Amero bums is about. Charlie Suarez is from the Philippines.
He's not American. The Rhodes Scholar continued, "Yeah, you a hater. Suarez got hurt many times by Vaquero. Was you blind to them shots? Suarez was wobbled many times. You blind effers, haters. LOL, this proves you guys are not to be trusted. LOL.
So don't trust me and take a hike.
See if I care. The partiality that he's accusing me of having is a reflection of his own partiality, because I can tell there's a lot of nationalism behind this.
Tribalism.
Where I myself am neither Mexican or Filipino. I don't have a horse in the race. Thus, when I say I know what I saw, and I saw Charlie Suarez open up that cut on Emmanuel's eye off a punch, not a clash of heads, that doesn't come from a sense of nationalism or national pride to the Filipino flag or the Filipino fighters, because I'm not a Filipino.
Whereas you, likely are Mexican, rooting for the Mexican fighter, pretending that I'm a hater for calling it down the middle, for calling a spade a spade. Here's what you can do with your nationalism. Fold it up in a nice little square and stick it up your ass. Because I don't care.
I don't give a shit. I've long maintained that tribalism does have its place in all of organized sports. And that place is in the stands, urging on the fighters by purchasing a ticket to be there, or buying a pay-per-view at home. That is where your nationalism best services the sport, but it has no place in any conversation that I'm having. I don't give a shit what you and the fighter have in common.
I don't care if he's from the same country as you or flies the same flag as you do. I don't care if you sat behind him in homeroom or lived down the street from him. What the hell does that have to do with anything?
That doesn't change what the video evidence shows, just like that doesn't change that it's Navarete's own promoter that's pushing for a rematch.
These kinds of people always want a seat at the same table as me and you.
Always.
Whilst expecting our views on the same fight that they're watching to be as hyperbolic and self-serving.
As biased as their views are. The only reason this guy's going so hard for Emmanuel Navarete is because of his nationality. As if I'm supposed to care. As if that's supposed to influence what I say. I don't give two flamingo shaped.
I don't give a shit if you and him are joined at the hip.
Why are you mad?
Do you think that your partiality appears different to me than someone else's of a different nationality, race?
It doesn't.
Why are you mad?
Because the whole world saw your guy Vaquero narrowly escape an unheralded contender in Charlie Suarez? We're just calling a spade a spade. If you don't like the subject matter, then stop trying to sit at our table.
What are you doing here? If your views are going to be so partial and so linear and so biased, you don't need to talk to anybody about it. Moreover, you don't need to hear anybody else's views. What are you waiting for?
You've already made up your mind.
You're just mad the rest of the world doesn't share your opinion. You're mad that the rest of the world doesn't care.
I woke up this morning and I'm scrolling through my news feed, and everybody's saying the same thing. I go on YouTube and it's the same deal. As difficult as it is to get everybody in boxing to agree on something, Everybody I've seen agrees on this.
Navarete got lucky because that cut was as a result of a punch, not a clash of heads, to the point where Navarete's own promoter is saying the same thing, and he's the one calling for a rematch. I myself don't expect Emmanuel to have it.
But what does it say that Emmanuel's own promoter is the one pushing for it?
So you can come in here like a disgruntled toddler who needs a diaper change, peeing and shitting all over my comments.
I suppose this qualifies as another installment of Ring IQ hate mail, since this guy hates to see me call it down the middle.
Then go somewhere else.
Another biased boxing fan that for whatever reason thinks his shit don't stink.
It does.
No, I don't expect that Mr. Jose Pereira, or whatever the hell his name is.
Most of this is gonna go over Jose Pedraza's head because he's got the emotional intelligence of a small child.
You can tell. He left another comment claiming that this channel hates Mexican fighters.
He's a mental midget. There's no getting through to him.
I cannot hope to succeed where the U.S. educational system so obviously failed this product of fetal alcohol syndrome and drug abuse.
Crack, baby.
This video isn't so much for Jose, but for us to laugh at Jose, because this is comedy gold.
He may as well be rolling on the floor, peeing on himself.
So obvious temper tantrum. Do you think you're influencing anyone's opinions with what you're saying? Why do individuals like this so often try to sit at the same table as us and have conversations with us? It's because they know underneath it all, no one listens to them.
Go ahead, Jose. Start a YouTube channel. Upload all your little opinions about all the little boxing matches and see who gives a damn.
Do it!
No, you gravitate towards the people that get all the attention that you don't.
You can't pretend that you didn't care, that you didn't spend a lot of time on it when you left 4 or 5 comments on the same video. Were you watching it with your fists clenched?
And your asshole.
Why are you mad?
Keep it up and you'll lose your speaking privileges, and I'll still say whatever I want to say, and you'll be powerless to stop me.
You have no power here.
Dumbass. Go cry in the car.
That Devin Haney took
This
it
whole
to the
thing
ring.
is
Yeah.
patty cake. I don't know about that.
Devin Haney took a different mentality. I think more of his father's mentality in the ring.
I think-
and not the fighters that, because we're like me. I train a different way, or I think a different way. And Nate Jones was in the corner too. He thinks a different way. So it's like I think that he took on to his father's mentality of maybe protecting the bag for the next fight, and that's just not how I roll. But you know, to each his own. He won the fight. He got his victory, but sometimes a victory could be a loss if you do it the wrong way.
You see it there. Shane Mosely is not going to take the heat for Devin Haney's lackluster performance, in spite of Shane being the one that Devin hired to help him prepare for the Jose Ramirez fight. According to Shane, well, that's not what they worked on, and that's not what he taught him. That approach likely came from Devin's father, Bill.
It's not necessarily PTSD from the Ryan Garcia fight that we saw, so much as a cautious approach to secure the bag, to secure a second Ryan Garcia fight. That if Devin didn't want to risk anything, it's not necessarily because he's damaged goods.
Though all the same, a lackluster showing, a lackluster performance, surmising the paradox that you can still lose by winning.
Might seem like an oxymoron. Devin may have got the decision, but did he really win when nobody wants to see him? The Ryan Garcia fight is dead.
So many going up to bat for Devin Haney's performance, pretending that it wasn't lackluster, when the guy that trained him is disassociating himself with the whole thing.
So what does that tell you?
What the sweet science snobs don't want to admit, that style of fighting does not belong on television. It doesn't matter how much you like Devin. Even if you are in any way entertained by seeing him do laps around the ring for 36 minutes, you must be a member of the minority, because the majority of boxing fans don't want to see that shit, and the boxers themselves.
Shane trained it.
This is tantamount to throwing Devin Haney under the bus. Now, it is important to note that Derek Chisora, that he liked Devin Haney's performance and said that fighting like that, he will be an undisputed champion again. But those are hollow words coming from Derek when Derek doesn't fight that way.
Derek didn't become the ticket seller that he became in spite of losses in the double digits from fighting like a Devin Haney, fighting scared and being careful, being cautious.
He didn't become the draw that he became by being like Devin. So while that may be a showing of soft solidarity, it's not reality.
There's always a few people that like to be disingenuous about boxers like Devin and performances like that, like we're all supposed to like it. This is boxing.
No, this is why Devin is now stuck between a rock and a hard place, because without the Ryan Garcia rematch to fall back on, what are your options? And given your demands, what you aspire to make fight by fight?
In tandem with where you're campaigning now, because you can't make 135, you can't make 140, you're stuck at 147.
With other 147 pounders, we may see a Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero rematch long before we see him in the ring with Devin. And if that's how the cookie crumbles, what's Devin gonna do in the mean in-between time? Who is he gonna fight based on what his financial demands are and where he's campaigning now, in tandem with how he's fighting?
Nobody wants to see that shit.
Spirited losses. Danny Jacobs had a spirited loss to Gennady Golovkin years ago that, even though he lost, he gained a lot of fans in the process. A little over a week ago, we saw the same thing with Ramon Cardenas, that the unbeaten, unblemished record isn't everything.
But it seems to be everything to Devin because he's trying to emulate Floyd Mayweather.
And a big part of Mayweather's pitch in his day was his unbeaten record, but not for no reason. It was that whole 49-0 angle, beating Rocky Marciano's record. That's where all the emphasis came from, whereas Devin's just doing it aimlessly. Yes, you're unbeaten, but who cares?
Still boring.
And so with that, I don't expect to see Shane Mosely in Devin Haney's corner moving forward. He was intended to bring about the necessary changes for Devin Haney to adapt and start racking up knockouts again, just based on these comments.
And I'm expecting Bill Haney to respond. I'm curious to see what he's gonna say.
You can't claim that Shane Mosely has something against Devin Haney and axe to grind when not that long ago he was training him.
So often, when a disparaging comment is made, even when it's accurate, the fighter and his team, his representatives, like to accuse everybody of being a hater, or you're just hating.
Tantamount to trying to block out the sun with your index finger when the rest of us can see it just fine. It's not hate, it's reality. Devin's performance sucked, and he needs to do better.
It's the bottom line.